We need her.
All right, welcome to another episode of Getting Started.Life, the show about starting new things, new endeavors. And this is a fun show today because it's our experimental first remote on-site broadcast and a great guest. We're talking today about starting numismatic endeavors, maybe collecting coins, and a little bit carry over to precious metals with Rob Wheelhouse, one of the owners of Niles Coin Shop, where we're at right now. So, Rob, let's jump right in. Like, you and I worked in the mortgage industry, didn't talk for years, found each other again because we now live in the same suburb,
Right.
Town actually. But I didn't know you would switch into the coin world, and it's kind of a circuitous way that you've gotten there. But talk a little bit about how you got there and your expertise.
Yeah, like all kind of careers, I just kind of fell into it. But I was selling mortgages with you, and I think it was around 2008 when the economy collapsed, and I got laid off. My stepdad had bought into a coin business with a business partner of his. They had invested in racehorses, and they found this to be a good little business. So I came in here right around then, 2008, 2009, and it was a smaller shop, no internet presence, and we were very fortunate that the metals market, silver and gold, really jumped up in price. And so that's where I learned on the fly. And I went from like 1 day, 2 day a week to all of a sudden full time, to all of a sudden expanding locations. And a few years back, I took on a business partner, Mike. He's here in the back. And we bought the business. And we've been buying and selling rare coins, currency, gold, silver, and other collectibles since then.
Talk a little bit about your background too, because I think we were talking right before the show, right? Like the internet is out there. There's so much out there. And, you know, even before we go into kind of how people can get started, a little bit about like, how do you gain the knowledge and like, what have you done? Because again, you sort of fell into it, but you're knowledgeable. Like I talked to you and I'm like, holy crap, you know a lot about coins.
For me specifically, personally, I was a collector as a little kid. Star Wars toys, comic books, you name it. I really had that kind of collecting bug. When I started working here, it was very much just kind of a cash business, buy, sell, buy, sell. But I started to notice that certain coins, certain money was more attractive or prettier and would get much higher prices. And that led me to take a coin grading class through the American Numismatic Association. I got to learn from some of the greatest graders in the business. And the beauty of the coins was really what got me. And once I started to learn how to tell, a rare condition coin from a common coin and turn that into actual money was really what got me started and really got me to like really focus on this business.
Now on the Marya, did you have something?
No, go ahead.
Now on the grading side of it, that's obviously a differentiator. Like, and there's plenty of people in coin stores, I'm sure, who don't know how to do that. So talk a little bit about how you earn that credential.
Yeah, and it's very confusing for a lot of people. I will buy a coin collection that's in raw condition, meaning it's just ungraded. It's in a binder, or maybe it's in a cabinet even. And I will go through it and I will be able to tell which coins are uncirculated, which coins have great eye appeal. And it is confusing, especially beginners, because it is more of an art than a science. And what it really takes is looking at as many coins as possible and realizing that there's different strikes, different ways that they'll show circulation. Some coins look just very flat and dull. Doesn't mean that they're circulated or that they're in poor condition. It's just the way they were struck. But the more you look at, the more you learn. But it is kind of tough to explain to people that eye appeal is really what's going to drive things, and that the luster of a coin is what's really important. The luster is basically the high frosty points on a coin that as it gets circulated or as it gets cleaned, or what common practice is called dipping, they'll dip a coin in acid. We don't ever do that because it slowly wears down the coin until one day it's just a worthless disc. But it just is a matter of looking at as many examples as you can, learning from people that know what they're talking about. And a lot of it's being humble, because I've looked at coins and said, oh, that's cleaned. And then, no. Somebody who really knows what they're doing take me aside and say, this is what they're supposed to look like, and this is why it's different than the other things you've seen. But yeah, it is definitely more of an art, and you do have to train your eye to look for like what's a quality coin.
You use the terminology struck. What does that mean for someone who doesn't have any idea, like me?
Right. So basically, they take a coin blank, and that is a like a sheet. Let's say like a sheet of silver, and they punch out the coin shape. That's the planchet, and then the coin is struck. And so there's 2 dies that hit the coin. The technology's changed over the years, but now they're fully struck, as you know, because of the technology and the pressure they're able to use. But back in the day, like let's say before 1836, they were using basically hammers or wooden presses that were horse turned, and that could maybe cause the strike to be shallow or not very strong, so you wouldn't see a lot of the detail in the coin. But that doesn't mean it was used in circulation. Doesn't mean it just means it just looks a little differently. But it's knowing kind of the different minting techniques from the different eras to know how to kind of grade the coins from those eras. And coins graded after 1836 are completely differently graded than coins before 1836. But the strike of the coin is what's going to bring up what we call the relief or the design. And a well-struck coin is usually going to have much more eye appeal than a poorly struck coin.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on the high frosty shiny points there. I feel I'm losing those in my 50s.
If you really want to like geek out about it, when you hold an uncirculated coin at like a 45-degree angle, you can kind of go like this, and it'll have a swirl. It'll have a luster effect where it's like a cartwheel, and that's the light spinning through. And if you remember in Star Wars, when Luke Skywalker's in the Death Star trench, imagine a coin is just covered in trenches like that, and the light is going through that trench. But as soon as you rub it or circulate it across that, it reduces that amount of luster. And if you do it enough, it makes it what's called a circulated coin. And one of the most common things that people look for in grading is circulated versus uncirculated. And uncirculated coins carry much higher premiums and have much more eye appeal than circulated coins.
Okay.
Coins are graded on a number scale of 1 through 70. 70 is considered perfect. 1 would be considered basically an unidentifiable disc. And if a coin grades with the numbers of 60 through 70, that's considered mint state. So a lot of times my job is to be like, is that a mint state 63 or a mint state 64? And the difference in price can be really significant.
So I think that's a good segue to jump in. So again, our show is kind of about like what people need to do. And I think that's a great basis. So people might be going, holy crap, there's a whole lot to know. Do I even want to start doing it? So if someone wants to get into it, like what's their first step?
You know, the first step is a lot of people come into the hobby. They see something on the internet. They see something in their grandpa's drawer. They have a lot of questions. And the best thing they can do is do a little bit of internet research, and they'll find that there are some great resources out there, like the American Numismatic Association, the grading services, Professional Coin Grading Service, and Numismatic Guarantee have great websites that has inventory list, price lists, and photos. Now, photos are hard to grade coins. You can take a photo of a coin and saturate the colors, and I buy coins that way, and they get sent to me, and then I have to send them back because they don't look the way they look in the picture. But for the most part, that's the good side of the internet. Now, there's a bad side of the internet where
just saw a couple of minutes ago.
You're gonna see these websites like Etsy, even eBay, where a coin found literally in a parking lot is put on Etsy, and it says this rare coin. It's got these really weird markings on it. It's $10,000, and people just see that. They look at theirs. It goes, that looks the same. And they come in, and I got to explain to them why they don't have a $10,000 coin and why Etsy is able just to put up whatever they want. So it's really the first step for a lot of people is kind of that internet rabbit hole. And it's important for them to go down like the professional and the I guess the more established, the grading
Credible.
services and the coin clubs and things like that. But coin shops and coin shows are still great resources. And we're lucky. We're in Chicago. We've got a lot of shops here. But people can come in, look at some really high grade coins that they could only probably find on the internet, and then kind of know what they look like and why we're pricing them and how they're being priced. And it really is a big benefit outside of the shows. Now at the coin shows, you're going to be exposed to a lot of different material, and that's really really important to look at as many different high-end coins as you can, so what you're looking for when one does pop up, maybe online or at a shop.
It's interesting. When we had our show about what to do when you want to own a firearm, it was the same thing about gun shows. And I think for someone who hasn't really been in the collection or the industry of having a gun or the industry of having coins, I never thought of those as educational experiences, right? Going to the
you feel like you're wasting someone's time.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to a coin
building
show.
A relationship.
Yeah, it never occurred to me that it was a really good way to see a lot of different things and educate myself about guns or coins. And I think that's interesting for people to realize.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one question I would have is, there's two sides of it, right? So like my 12-year-old was really getting into coin collecting. He's kind of into it, but he's not going to go buy a $5,000 coin. And I think that people gravitate toward, wow, what is this worth? As opposed to me, what is it worth? Like, do you ever recommend people collecting because maybe they start collecting things that aren't expensive, but have some value, might have value later, or just is interesting to them, and start building a collection. And then if it's really what their jam is, then they buy more expensive coins.
Yeah. And there's definitely like a collector's kind of path that we try to help. But if somebody comes in and says, I'm really interested in, and let's say it's Morgan silver dollars, and those are very popular coins made from 1878 to 1921. A lot of people start with those. They're the big silver coins. They're easy to grade and see what's on them. But if they come in and say, I'm here to, purchase Morgans, I'm going to start them off slow. And I'm going to want them to buy a few things and to see how they feel when they get home. And every coin I sell, I want to buy back. And I want that relationship. So when they're like, all right, I've got 5 coins that are worth $50 each, but now I'm looking at this other coin that's worth $300. Like, I'm going to buy those back and then give them another quality coin. And you do see people kind of go up the ladder where they start with maybe an accumulation of coins. And then as they develop their eye and their taste, it just keeps getting to be more high quality, but less coins. I definitely see that. And then I've seen people build a complete collection, and then sell the whole thing.
Just because they did it, right? I want to get all the quarters.
And they built their collection. It took them a decade. They sold their whole thing. And now I'm like, oh, now what coin? Like, you know what? I'm going to start collecting, guns. I'm going to buy a muscle car. Like, they find, you know what I mean? And then like, it's kind of like that path is over for now. And then you get a new collector in, and you start at the bottom, and it's just.
So now that they've gone kind of down that rabbit hole, you said they've done kind of a lot of basic research. What would be their next step? Is it like, oh, I don't want to jump in. What would you say they do next?
So is to really, I learned more about coins when I decided to focus on a single series. And I chose the 3-cent silver pieces. They were made from 1851 to 1872. They were 3-cent pieces, smallest silver coin. And I just found them very interesting. When I focused in on that and built a set, I got to meet a lot of dealers who could provide me with unique access to inventory. But it also made me an expert in kind of a niche-y thing. So now I've sold the set, but now I have people calling me up, emailing me, saying, I've got this, or are you interested in that? And letting me kind of see some really interesting things. So it's really developing finding your specific niche. Like, here's the coin I really want to know about, because you'll learn about the designer. You'll learn if they made other coins in the series, other coins in other series, and it really can give you a lot of confidence. So that moving forward, and like, just to be really obscure, the 1851 was designed by this guy named Longacre. He also designed some gold pieces, but there's a thing called long acre doubling, which is a common kind of doubling on a coin. And a lot of people are familiar with the 1955 double die penny. It's like one of the rarest modern coins. But the doubling that shows up on these coins is common to the coins he designed and doesn't add any value. But once I'm able to know that, and then take that knowledge moving forward, it does, help me not try to overvalue the coin, because this doubling is common to it. So,
well, and then I would have a question. So if they're starting out, right, and they've kind of figured out what they want to do, but maybe they don't know where they want to start, is it beneficial? Because you can buy like lots of coins, right?
Yes.
Like not like lots. Of course, you can buy lots of coins, but like someone will buy a bag of coins. You don't know what's in it. It's kind of a grab bag. Maybe something good, maybe not. You're sure rarely going to find like the super rare coin.
Right.
Is that a good way to start, where they can see so many different coins and go, wow, I really like that one?
Yeah,
and it gives you that exposure.
As long as the price is right, and you don't want to spend anything. The people that get really burned are the ones that are trying to make kind of a quick buck, and it's like, maybe if I spend $20 on this lot of mystery coins, there's a $5,000 coin in there. And I have like what I call junk bins of very heavily circulated dollars. And we have guys come in and they want to go through them because there might be a rare date. And I've tried to tell them, there's no way I'm ever going to put like a 1893 S, the rarest Morgan dollar, in there. And they look at me and go, well, you never know. And it's like, well, I do know, because it's my material, but there are people that want to search and search, hoping to find that. I will say, if it's on eBay, like here's an unsearched bag of coins, dealers don't do that. They don't sell things that could potentially be worth, hundreds or thousands just because.
Should they start with like family members and say, hey, like, do you guys have coins? Because I know there are some opportunities where you can find just in, I've read something, always check your change, right? Because there might be something in there. It doesn't take long to do it. It might be circulated, but you might find a dime that's worth more than a dime.
Right.
Is that a good way to go, to find people who kind of want to help you do that and might just give you a bunch of coins?
I would say, yeah, if you've got some, family members that have some junk drawers or some safe deposit boxes or some coffee cans. We buy coffee can collections all the time. And it's a collection of wheat pennies and buffalo nickels and maybe some pre-1964 silver coins. But that's a great way to get people started, and you can really take a look at things. We sell bulk wheat pennies, and kids are able to kind of search through the dates and put them in a book, and that kind of gets them started. That's only a few dollars. But yeah, definitely talking to your older family members as they're cleaning out their closets or drawers. And a lot of things can turn up from that.
When my dad moved in with us, there were a lot of coins that came with, and it's like, all right, well, what? Why not, right?
Right.
Now, you mentioned coin clubs too. Is that because a lot of the listenership on this network is about like starting new things post divorce, right? And singles. Like, what's the vibe at a lot of those? Is it kind of like, because I think there's, no offense, but I think there's like a prejudgment, like people looking there like, oh, coin collectors, stamp collectors are gonna be a bunch of nerdy folk. But is it like not like that? Is it really a good cross section? Is it like a good way to meet people and maybe forge a common interest?
I would say like probably not. A lot of the coin shows are older white guys, and when they bring their wives, they're just miserable. They're just following him around, and he's trying to be like, look at that one, I'm going to buy that and they're like, great. So there has been a nice little, the pandemic has really brought out the younger crowd, we were just at a coin show in Orlando, and I was really happy to see there's a younger crowd, a few more women, and what's really brought them into this is cryptocurrency. That has really taught a lot of people a lot about money and what is money and why is it currency and why is it valuable. And some of these people that have made some money selling cryptocurrency then go to the next step, like, well, what do I do? And when they realize that gold and silver are hard assets, that brings them into the coin show to buy, what we call gold and silver bullion, just coinage or bars just made for investment. But when you get somebody like that that's intellectually curious, they go, wait a minute, this is just a 1 ounce coin and it's worth this much. But this is an old one and you're charging so much more. That's when they start to educate themselves a little bit. And with what they can do on their smartphone, they're able to look at a coin, a graded coin in my case, and actually pull it up and its history and its auction history and when it was graded, and basically tell me more about the coin than I know, just at their fingertips. And that cuts both ways. They're very able to be educated and to know specifically, but it also limits me. It just says, like, listen, it sold for this in April and this in August, and I'll pay this right now. And so it's made them pretty savvy negotiators.
So we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back, cover the last 3 steps and the biggest mistake that people tend to make. All right, we are back. And for those who are just joining us, there's some noise in the back because they just bought a bunch of silver. We're getting Started.Life with our guest, Rob Wheelhouse, one of the owners of Niles Coin Shop. And we're talking about getting started in coin collecting. So we talked about the first 2 steps. And what would you say is the 3rd step if someone wants to get into collecting coins?
At some point, you're going to have to spend some money and kind of make a commitment. And that's when we know, and that's when the dealers know that you're serious. And that's when you start getting access to certain coins as they come up. The relationship network that the dealers have is very long-standing and very strong. And so there's certain coins that we won't show to anyone until so-and-so's seen it. But once we know that you are, because we do meet a lot of people, oh, I want to, but I don't, and back and forth. But when we know you're serious about collecting, we get very serious about bringing the best stuff to you so that you can have.
That brings up a question on my part. Like, we were talking about the episode we did on guns, and like gun guys they have their gun store, right? That's where they go. It's almost like they're bartenders. That guy knows them and things like that. And if they're collectors, they potentially find them, what they're looking for, they'll special order through them. Do you recommend people sort of limit their exposure to dealers once they find who they like? And as a dealer, if they're looking for something, do you act in a broker capacity?
Yes, I do that. And it's a lot like buying drugs in the 70s. Know your dealer. And if you have a good relationship with your dealer, they're going to not sell you a counterfeit, not sell you a cleaned coin. And that relationship will, get stronger. And I can buy a coin that has a retail price, but it could take me a long time to find a collector for it. But if I know there's a collector for it, I can give them, and I know that they'll buy it and be serious. I can, give them a little bit of a discount, and that really helps add value to the collection over time. But yeah, developing a dealer relationship can protect you from a lot of things. And people have kind of misunderstood that and been like, I see this coin at this other dealer's table, and I'm like, that's great. Bring it over to me, and I will tell you if it's a good or a bad, like a yes or a no. And I'll even let you know if I have a relationship with that dealer, and I can say to them, his check is going to be good. That happens quite a bit. But those kind of relationships really pay off over time. And I would say that'd be the biggest thing you can do. And I've even seen strong relationships develop through the mail or through the internet, and where people are sending, dealers are sending people coins that they haven't even asked to see. And they call them back, say, I love it. And
is it like the drug dealer relationship where they give you a couple to set the hook, and then you come back?
I have seen,
not that I know anything about that.
I have seen like similar things to that, but yeah. And, collecting does get people very engaged, and it does get them addicted is a strong word, but when somebody is really trying to put together a set or really on the hunt for something. And we've had people call us up every day for like a month asking if we have this, and it's just we try to let them know if this comes along, we'll call you. But once these guys and ladies get engaged, it can really take them to a place where they're very focused.
What did you have, Marya?
I was just curious, if your third step is to kind of spend some money, can you enter into this at any budget, or do you have a threshold that you have to kind of be at to be serious?
Yeah, I would say, like once you spend more than $500 on a coin, and that's when I know, okay, that's for a lot of people, that's some real money. But it's amazing to me. Like there's people that spend thousands, and my advice to them, especially when they're new, is like, if you buy from me, everything you buy from me, I'll buy back at very close to or the same price. So it really takes the risk out. So as they want to upgrade, they're able to do that. But it's definitely a challenge for them.
Well, and I was going to ask, like, or kind of the aspect of having a good dealer is, I would think, if you're bringing something in and you don't quite know about it, like, have you ever had someone come in and say, here's this, and you fully could have the opportunity to say, oh, it's worth this, and that you would be jamming them on it, but generally I know that's not what you would do. But are there people out there who do that, and is that also a good reason to find a good dealer?
Yeah, and we'll have people that in the Chicago area that buy a coin at the shop up the street, bring it here to try to make $2 to $10 or whatever. But we try to, if you bring in something that you want a valuation on, try to tell you, here's exactly what we'll pay, and I'll even say, and here's how much it's worth. Meaning, I'll pay you $100, but I'm going to sell it for $120. And people appreciate that because it is what it is. And I'm just trying to be a resource, and it doesn't do me any good to stick somebody with a overpriced coin or a problem coin, because then when they come back to sell it to me or another dealer, they're going to say, well, this guy ripped you off. And that's the kind of thing that will kill a new collector relationship. And that's the biggest risk I see, is when a new guy starts off and sees an ad online or just buys something, and then when they realize they've overpaid, it might be a month or a year later, it really sours them on the whole experience. So it's best to be a resource and just give them the best advice and guidance possible, and then that really keeps loyalty. And like the shop I own's been here for over 40 years, and I was trained by the original owner. But people will call up and say, my grandma just passed away, and we found your business card in her safety deposit box, and it is from 1988. And that means a lot to us.
That blows my mind that 40 years is 1988.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Question before we go to the fourth step. insurance, like should people be thinking about as they're starting to move into more expensive coins, insuring those? Should it be part of their planning process if they're keeping them local, or what's a good way to guarantee your investment from theft and things like that?
Yeah, so coin security and protecting your investment is a big part of this. And as a dealer, and I always like to put this out there, I don't ever bring coins home. I don't have inventory at my house, and I want everyone in the world to know that. If you come to my house, not the place for gold and silver, not the place for coins. I have 2 safes here, an alarm system in the shop, and insurance. So we actually will store coins for people, but only for a limited time. We find that, safety deposit boxes are a good resource, but over time, that fee can really cut into the value, especially if you're storing like gold bullion and you're spending $80 a month or something like that. Like that's, going to add
Well,
up
I
to
heard somewhere if the bank wants like basically anything in their safe deposit box, they can kind of seize. So if you're holding precious metals or precious coins or whatever, they can take that from you.
Yeah. And
not that I'm paranoid.
And we've seen some banks that have been very aggressive, like Chase. They really don't want you storing bullion in their safe deposit boxes. And there is some language in their contracts basically saying, hey, if they think you're storing that and as a potential money laundering situation, they just take it. And there's not much you can say. So we do have some people that also feel like if there is any financial or economic trouble, that the banks will just lock the door. How do they get in to get to their precious metal assets? So they store things at home. And if you are going to do that, we really recommend that you have a safe that is bolted to the floor. Break-ins usually last less than 2 minutes. And a lot of times what we've seen is someone knocks on the front door, says, I got to talk to you about your cable bill or this tree branch, and somebody runs in the back door. And all they do is they flip the top drawer of the dresser, the mattress, and if there's anything there, they run out. So we recommend to people, if you're going to have a safe in your house, bolt it to the floor. That usually means that it's just going to slow them down, and that's enough to deter them. We do have some pretty unorthodox methods. We've had people take silver bars, paint them black, put them in their koi pond, use them as door stops. I know someone that's got a garage, and it's full of old rusty coffee cans, nuts, bolts, anything you can imagine. But one of them is full of silver dimes.
So that's why you check the coffee cans when someone dies in the family.
Right. Mm-hmm. But insurance is a great thing, especially when it comes to graded or slabbed coins. They have the graded or slabbed coins actually have serial numbers and barcodes, so that you can actually like kind of register them and put them on an insurance rider in case they are lost or stolen.
That's cool. Then they could always refer to our Buying Your First Gun episode to protect that as well. So
and there is quite a gun and coin crossover.
I can see that,
and we do have quite a few people that
guys with mustaches like this that like the guns and coins.
And I've bought a few guns here, but they have to be from 1896 or earlier.
Oh, so you have a what's it called?
I do not.
Oh, I have that one kind of license.
I don't have that license. That's why it has to be from 1896.
Oh, God.
Or
okay.
earlier.
Yeah, mine could go to 1970.
And if you do decide to bring a gun to Niles Coin Shop, we leave it in the trunk of your car. Do not wrap it up like a baby and come walking in. It really makes us nervous. We'll come out to your car and tell you if it's something we can look at. Do not squeeze the trigger. Do not do anything. Just leave it alone.
So now, step 4, like they've found a good dealer. They've decided they want to do this. They've done a little research. We kind of talked a little bit about budget. What would be their next step?
The next step really is to just, especially if they found a series, get involved with like a coin club. Like there's regional clubs like Chicago Coin Club. That's a great resource. But there's also like clubs like Early American Copper Club. So if you're into a specific,
that's really specific.
Yeah, it gets really, really nichey. And
there's enough people about Early American Copper to like Chicago's a big market, but if you're in a smaller market, if you're in, Dubuque or something, I'm assuming that it's a little bit harder. So
It is harder.
what do you do if you're in BFE?
Right. And we get a lot of people, that we have found our shop on eBay, and we end up selling them stuff because for them to drive to their nearest shop is 2 or 3 hours. And that's why the clubs have a lot of online forums and online accessibility that you can really talk in real time to one of the foremost experts. And I will say that is one of the best things about this. It's a kind of a small world, the coin world. And once you're engaged in it, you can really, I mean, I've met some of the world's greatest numismatists and got to have one-on-one time with them, and they'll share information and knowledge that you can't get anywhere else. And once they know you're engaged and you're interested and you're going to listen, because we get told often by the public that we don't know what we're doing, that they know this is worth more, their dad spent this much on it. But if you're willing to listen, you will get experts, the guys that write the books, the guys that create the grading sets, to sit down one-on-one and talk with you. And it can be at a show, or it can be, over an email chat. Yeah. And then the other thing I would say is, take a look. If you are in Omaha and there's a big coin show coming to Chicago, it might really be worth it to take a drive or take a flight and get a hotel room, because some of the coin shows, especially the ones we have in Chicago, the ANA World's Fair of Money, there's $2 to $3 billion in that room. There's some of the nation's greatest heritage pieces there. Things from our first mint in 1792, things that George Washington had. I mean, and there's an amazing amount of history, and what you can learn at one of these big shows is really amazing.
How do you intersect the budget with that start point, right? Like, you're looking at it and you're like, there are these really nichey things and all that, but a matter of saying, okay, I want to start, and I've got, especially if we've got clients coming out of divorce, they may be now trying to figure out their finances, but they want to do something like this. So they might have $1,000 to spend. Is there a good resource to go, okay, here's about what I have to spend, and I don't want to only one coin, because that does not a collection make. Mm-hmm. So how can they find that intersection?
There's really some great pricing guides, and let's say their interest is Washington quarters. They can actually look at a price list, and it'll have from the first quarter in 1932 until now all the different prices, and they'll say, wow, the 1932D and the 1932S are hugely more expensive than the 1934. And that's when they'll know, well, do I want to commit some money to the key dates, or do I want to build up a few other things? And it really just is like kind of their preference. But I do see a lot of collectors start kind of with volume and then move towards quality as they get more
that's
confident
what my
and
thought
comfortable.
Was, it's not fun if you have one coin. It's like, wow, let's check out my collection.
It can be pretty fun to have one coin. It's
that coin. Now, what about, like, you'll see, and this I feel like I'm getting old when the magazines I read have like ads for gold, like special kinds of shoes, and like coins from shipwrecks.
Okay.
Like, what about that? Is that like a completely different thing?
So we found that a lot of the marketers, we call them, whether they're marketing in a magazine, or there's even coin shows on cable TV. So usually when you buy from that kind of scenario or the newspaper ad, you're going to be paying a high premium. You're going to be paying for their airtime, for their printing, for their promotion. And I've had people come in and say, I bought this off of TV. I know the guy you bought it from. I've seen his show. And they don't realize that marketer has been emailing my company or calling my company saying, I have to fill 1,000 pieces of this, and here's what I'm paying. And we'll just sell it just to, move the inventory. But by the time it gets to his TV show, the markup is 3-4 times. And that is an opportunity. Like, I break some bad news a lot. Like, you got burned, you got overpaid. But here's the good news. Like, you can buy it from us and it's going to be at a much, lower price. So as long as they haven't gotten completely soured on the hobby after that, it can be an opportunity.
So what's the last step now that they've kind of figured out where they want to focus?
Just enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you know enough and you're looking for things that are going to have high eye appeal and that you know what you're looking for. And when you are at a show and you see 3 of the same coins and the same date and the same grade, but you see the one that is just beautiful, you're going to have a lot of fun when you get home and you put it with the rest of your set. Maybe, get your light out and a little glass of wine. And there's a lot to look in these coins. There's a lot to be seen. And some people are able to look at the whole coin and just see all the, the sum of its parts. Some people take a loop and want to look at every technical detail. But I think there's a lot of fun to be had in both.
I like that as something to end on because, we have kept going back to cost and value and all of that. And, I think that aspect of, when my kid was getting into coins and he got some Mercury dimes or stuff, you're like, wow, that's really interesting. And the historical component, what was going on in the world at that time, in that particular country, that was valued. Like our coins are already now going through a certain change based on what's going on in our country right now. I think that's really interesting. And I think that's a really cool thing to end on the steps. But now we always like to end on like, what's the biggest mistake? Like, what do you see people do and what should they avoid to get derailed from the first 5 steps?
Yeah. The same thing. It's just, there's same thing with like crypto and anything. There's no get rich quick. You're not going to just kind of look at a YouTube video or look at a Facebook video and be like, all right, I'm going to buy this and sell this. That's just, we know you're coming. And if you're just going to try to make a quick buck, then we're going to try to make one too. So, don't, and I've seen people that know enough just to do some damage and they end up investing some money in something thinking they can flip it right away. And, anything that changes in the market is really going to derail that.
So it sounds like it's one of the things where it almost seems like it's a cool collection. It's something cool that you can do that will have value, right? Like, it will inherently have value. So if you do get tired of it or whatever, it's not lost. You'll get that value back. But if you enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it, then, and it almost sounds like to some extent you're saying, do you really want to do it because you like, or you have an interest in coins and money, or if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you're probably not going to enjoy it.
Right. And I've seen people too, like, almost every coin that I have not bought that I wanted to buy, like I was, that's a good coin. I'll come back for it. But every time I've regretted not buying it because that coin had some eye appeal. That coin had something going for it. And when I see collectors, I always reinforce eye appeal, eye appeal, eye appeal. And even if you feel like the price sheet says this, why am I paying a 20% premium? Nearly every time people spend a little bit more on quality on eye appeal, it comes back to them in
they're just making the right gut decision.
And when I buy a collection, the dealers know, wow, this person had the right eye. This is really good stuff. We end up paying more for it. So you really can't go wrong. It's just the timeline. You can buy an amazing coin on Monday and sell it for the same price on Tuesday. But if you are able to, maybe hold on to it for a few years, or then that's when you can see some really impressive returns. But nothing's happening, overnight.
And I want to have you back. We're going to close out, but I want to have you back to talk about precious metals at some point, because I think that's a whole different ballgame. And then I remember when you said you were a coin, that you had a coin shop, I was like, oh, okay. And then we started talking precious metals. I'm like, yeah, totally makes sense. But if people want to get hold of you, and remember, part of this is going to be full audio. So we've got your information at the bottom. We've had it during this, but how can they get a hold of you?
So we're at nilescoinshop.com, and we're located in Niles, Illinois, 7635 North Milwaukee. Phone number is 847-967-5575.
And I know you're on social as well, so they can find you on Facebook.
You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn and
everywhere.
I don't know. we pay some marketing guy, and
I like the new stuff though.
and it ends
They
up there.
had like a touch of trivia in there.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Rob for being on, and thank everyone for listening. Again, this is Getting Started.Life. If there's something you want to know about, let us know. We'll find the expert. We'll have them on, and we'll have them explain to you how to get started. If there's something you want to talk about, reach out to us. We'd love to have you on the show. We're on every other Tuesday at 12 Central. Thanks much, and we'll see you next time.